The Chaser Report is recorded on Gadigal land.
Striving for mediocrity in a world of excellence. This is the Chaser Report.
Hello and welcome to the Chaser Report. After the Victorian election, I'm John Domenico.
And I'm Lachlan Hodson. You.
I'm excited for this Monday, and we'll get into the Victorian election in a second, but I want to try a brand new game show idea I have right now.
Ooh, okay. I'm in. What's the pitch?
Fill in the News Corp blanks.
Yep.
I've got a News Corp headline here, and I've blanked out 2 parts.
And I've got to enter my News Corp writer perspective, okay?
It's obviously they're offended by something.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
federal government, so here we go. After dropping $5 million on a blank no one asked for, the federal government has once again gone against expert advice and committed almost $2 million to a swanky blank in regional New South Wales.
If they gave funding to it, and it's something that the Liberals love, I'm assuming it's a coal mine.
I think you've forgotten the fact this is the Daily Telegraph, and they would not be against the idea of opening a coal mine.
Ah, no.
So what the actual answer is, after dropping $5 million on a maternity ward no one asked for, the federal government has once again gone against expert advice and committed almost $2 million to a swanky cancer ward in regional New South Wales.
Knowing this company's history with jokes about that particular type of ward, I'm going to pass to the next headline, John. So the results are in for the Victorian election, and we know what's happened. It was the result that we all saw coming. Matt Guy's won. Woo! Matt Guy.
Oh.
Matt Guy. John, did you, because obviously this is what has happened, and we know that this is what was always going to happen. Matt Guy won.
My bad, I was under the wrong impression.
No, what do you think now that Matt Guy is the Premier?
Since we are both in Sydney, I'm like, it's not going to affect me.
Do you know anyone in Victoria maybe who you could check with?
I mean, I know Milbo. That's the only guy from Victoria I know.
Well, let's see. You should check
I'll text the voice of Melbourne right now.
What are you going to text him?
All right, I've just texted him. Hey, mate, what's your thought on Matt Guy's win?
Before we get the text from Milbo and his thoughts on it, I thought I'd sort of take a look at some of the new policies of the Matt Guy government and really try and understand what Victoria is going to look like for the next, hopefully forever, with Matt Guy. Look, I won't lie. Ever since St. Matthew came and saved us, I've really become a bit obsessed with him. I've gone down the Matthew Guy line.
Yeah, let's just move on from that.
Let's just move on from that. I had a look at their policy document. I got to say, John, it's hotter than a house party at Friendly Geordie's place. One of the most interesting policies that I found for the Victorian Matt Guy democracy is that he's going to be lowering the age that you have to be to receive your P plates.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
To 17.
Wait, it's not already 17 in Victoria?
I know, right? That's what's interesting. So if you're not from Victoria, you've probably assumed that the P plate age, which is after you've done a year on your L's, is 17. I don't know if other states have this. Is that what they have in Canberra?
Well, in Canberra, what it was you did your L's for like a year at least, and then there's a test to get on your P's. But we didn't have green peas because they're stupid.
In Victoria, it's even worse. You've got to wait till you're 18, and Matt Guy, God bless him, wanted to come in and lower that age right to 17. And I suspect it's definitely influenced by Matt Guy's close friend, Tim Smith, the ex-leader of the Liberal Victorian Party. Because as we all know, Tim Smith is a big fan of driving safely.
I mean, obviously they want 17-year-olds driving because unlike people like Tim Smith, they can't buy alcohol before they go drive, and they're going to be way less likely to crash into a child's bedroom.
Another Matthew Guy fact, or another policy of the Matt Guy government, the slogan that he used this election, we were all familiar with it already. It was a great slogan. The slogan was, "We are safe."
Unless you're in a child's bedroom, because then a Victorian Liberal will crash into you.
Well, that's the thing. I assume, no, it's not just safe from Victorians, it's also safe from the other big thing in Victoria that we all know.
You said safe from Victorians.
Oh, yeah, there are. And after this recording, I'm going to have to be safe from Victorians, John. But in Victoria, they know that they're safe from things like African gangs. You got to watch out for African gangs in Victoria. And since Matt Guy got in, there hasn't been any. You call that a coincidence?
No, I won't call it a coincidence.
It's a fact.
It is it's true, much in the same way that there hasn't been for a while.
No, John, though, but I've got to ask, if we're talking about slogans, can you think of any slogan that makes you feel like you're in more immediate danger than the words, "We are safe"?
Well, there is actually, yes, because in the Herald Sun last week, on their
Good slogan.
great slogan that Matt Guy will, quote, protect the thin blue line.
What does that even mean?
That is a Blue Lives Matter slogan
No.
that they have reused for comedic purposes as a quippy headline about protecting the Liberal Party. But yeah, the thin blue line refers to this idea that if you stop police from brutalizing black people, they will just lose so much of their power that the entire planet will be overrun by criminals.
I'll tell you the thin blue line that it's not referring to, which is the polling thin blue line, because there was a lot of votes for the blue. As we all know, Matt Guy won the election, and I will continue this bit for another 4.5 minutes. The other big policy of the Matt Party Guy party that I found interesting is his dedication to fixing the budget. He's all about fixing the budget because when you've been in opposition for 8 years, the only thing that you can ever really say that you'll do better is spend a bit less money. And oh boy, is Matt Guy keen on spending less money. Here is an ad that I actually found that's by the Victorian Labor Party, which highlights the attitude towards cutting pretty well.
Matthew Guy here at Matthew's Cut Warehouse in Victoria Parliament and Wear Slashing Services. After 8 years in opposition, we've got one option left.
Cuts, cuts, cuts.
And privatisation.
Won't want to miss this.
Everything must go. A world-class TAFE system.
Slash.
50,000 jobs on the big build.
Slash.
Hospitals, nurses, health systems.
Slash, cut, and burn.
Why need nurses when you have robots? Beep, boop, beep, boop. And we're not stopping there.
Everything must go.
Renewables.
Slash.
Female ministers.
Gone.
We're going to bring the lowest representation of women since Far Lap was doing laps of Flemington. Waterways.
Crap.
You like your picturesque views?
Well, it's going to be even better with an oil rig on it. And we've got a team of experts to deliver it.
We've got drunks, we've got harassers, we've got OnlyFans subscribers, we've got dodgy dudes and even dodgier policies.
And we've barely costed a thing.
We might even be breaking the Constitution.
Have we got slash wine prices?
No, David, but remember, a vote for Matthew Guy is a vote for Slash Services.
Fire road.
Education.
Slash.
Suburban railroad.
Slash.
Safe schools.
Gone.
There's no I in team, but there's an I, and I'm going to cut everything you enjoy about Victoria.
There's 4 eyes in there.
So get in quick before we cut, slashed and privatised the whole lot. It all has got to go. Authorised by Chris Ford, ALP, 438 Docklands Drive, Docklands, Victoria, 3008.
There's like 2 eyes in there.
What the fuck? Were Labour sick or something? Like that? Is that the first time
They
they've
were
ever...
fully sick.
Is that the first time they've ever made a decent ad online?
John, can I be frank with you?
Yeah?
Why is that ad more entertaining than this entire podcast? It's so good.
When you said you're going to talk about cuts, I've seen a lot of Labour TikToks using this really fucking terrible song they made that is just the word cuts over and over again to the sound of an elephant.
Because that was the only
song.
policy of the Matt Guy party, which is now in power.
Weirdly, that's also not, because the main criticism of Matt Guy's whole, like his actual policies, is that he's just doing that thing of like, we'll spend more on literally everything. We'll have more spending on health and more spending on education, and like literally every single thing, to the point where anytime he's been asked about like, well, how will you budget that? He's been like,
I don't actually care if the ad isn't 100% accurate or not, because it's genuinely really, really entertaining. I stumbled across the ad when I was on TikTok, and I thought that it was going to be something by like Dan Illich for Rational Fear or Tony Martin with the voices. Yeah. But it's genuinely just an ad that the Labour Party put on TikTok. And the way that they animate it, it's kind of like Matt Guy is talking as a spoof of how, you know how the South Park animates the Canadian voices? It's like that. It's really, really cute. And I got to say, the fact that the people who made it are now out of the job because the Victorian Labor Party lost this election, like, we got to hire these guys. That's fantastic. If we're not hiring, we're firing John and I.
Based on how every other message from Labor has ever been, I'm going to guess that they have been fired because that was good. Like during the election, one of the weird things with Labor is there are very obvious ways to make fun of the party. Like they talked about the lack of women in Matt Guy's party.
Yeah.
His last name is Guy. Just be like, the Guy cabinet just sounds like someone took Boys Club and put it into a fucking thesaurus.
He's just one of the guys.
But instead of going that obvious route, you get shit like 6th month alboversary, vote Labour, which is some actual ads that they ran. But that's what, for me, obviously because you're watching this from Sydney and I've been watching as well, we've missed the actual fact that this election isn't about policy that much because neither party wanted to actually get into the detail. This is the first ad the Liberal Party put out during the election when it was called.
One thing to know about Dan Andrews. He's been health minister or premier for 12 years. We're in the middle of a health crisis, but Dan doesn't care. He cut $2 billion from health. What a nightmare. But
that rhymed.
Somehow he still found $35 billion to invest in one train. Is he insane? Vic has the most debt in the country, but he wants to raise it further. We can't let this occur. It's time to end his career.
It's still better than there's a hole in my bucket, dear Labour, dear.
Yeah, they've done it better. But my favorite thing about that was that went viral for all the wrong reasons, to the point where they did a video defending it later on, saying you're not even thinking about the points they were arguing. And it was like real dumb shit. But the best part is, as a young person, I knew what they were doing there, which was they were trying to jump on a TikTok trend that involves bad rapping, but they fucked it up in the wrong way. So that means that they just did a bad rap while fucking up doing a bad rap in a funny way. This whole thing about where did this toxicity start? Because you've got Dictator Dan and his army of Twitter who send tweets sometimes.
If Dictator Dan had it his way, I'm pretty sure that the entire election would have just been a Twitter poll.
But his Twitter army are just up against anti-vaxxers and Nazis. They both are as bad as each other, obviously, according to every Sydney newspaper.
If I'm going to have a moment of genuine political analysis here, I think that it's incredibly fascinating that what has happened is, rather than in the federal election where someone like Clive Palmer utilised the massive angry people at something like a lockdown and vaccination mandates, instead of it coming from a left of field party like Clive Palmer, it's coming directly from one of the major parties, the Liberal Party. And I think that it's that sort of behaviour from someone who's supposed to be as respectable and centred as the Liberal Party that means what's happening is someone like the Greens have as much power as they do.
It is something to point out is that Matt Guy himself didn't approve, his office didn't approve any of the Nazi stuff. But essentially it just showed how weak and scared he is in his party, that he was calling in the so-called progressive Liberal Party members from around the country to come in and help out. And then in response, there was just random backbenchers calling in guys who counter-protested against Black Lives Matter in America and brought guns to that. And it's what the fuck is happening in Victoria? There was multiple times where I just tweeted out, is Victoria okay right now during the election? And then all of the responses of Victorians being no, what the fuck is just going on right now? This is all just bullshit. Tinfoil hats off to Victoria.
I think that's enough actual analysis, John. Let's go to someone who is from Victoria and does have it. Has Dave Milbo texted us back?
Yeah, so I texted Milbo about Matt Guy winning, and he said, guys, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Dan Andrews won.
What?
And he was always going to win. Not because he's a dictator and there's no viable alternative, but because people like him, bracket, and there is also no viable alternative, bracket. Stop reading the fucking Daily Telegraph.
Oh, no. Oh, John.
Gee, fuck.
John, I think I see what happened here. I got too distracted by your blanking out of the Herald Sun that when you said blank won the election, I assumed it was Matt Guy.
Our gear is from Rode Microphones and we're part of the Acast Creator Network.
Matt Guy forever!
I've already forgotten who he is.
Who?